There are few more majestic sights than a group of colorful hot air balloons soaring against a clear turquoise sky. That sight is quite common in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the ballooning capital of the world, especially each year in early October during the annual Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
It's just really a treasure for us, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can so that the Balloon Fiesta continues to be one of the iconic events in the world. You think about Mardi Gras, you think about Times Square on New Year's Eve. Well, you think about Albuquerque, you think about the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, and this is an event of that same caliber. So it means a great deal to the city, economically, culturally, and just from a sporting standpoint, and putting us on the map for many people that may not know who we are if it wasn't for ballooning.
Ballooning, also categorized as lighter-than-air flight, has been in existence since the late 18th century. In fact, the first untethered manned balloon flight took place in France in November of 1783. About 8 months later, the first manned flight in the U.S. was launched. Hot air balloons of today with an onboard heat source were made famous by Ed Yost in the 1950s and have been a passion for many adventurous sportsmen ever since.
I think balloonists like the aspect that you're not totally in control. Most things in our life are controlled or we're in control, and with ballooning you're at the mercy of the winds. Once you're aloft, it's very peaceful and quiet. You go with the wind, so there's no sensation of wind. So it's just very different than our day-to-day life where we ride around in cars and traffic.
Albuquerque is known as the ballooning capital of the world for good reason. Alternating wind directions above the city, creating what is known as the Albuquerque box, make it an excellent place to soar. In addition to its being the home of the annual Balloon Fiesta, it is also home to the Abruzzo Albuquerque International Balloon Museum.
What's especially unique about our museum is that it reflects the culture of ballooning, which is exactly what's unique about the city of Albuquerque itself. There's really no other place in the United States, for example, where you can drive down the street in the morning and see all of these beautiful balloons up in the air. And the other thing that's really unique about our museum is that it's fun. Most history museums, for understandable reasons, deal with very grim and serious subject matters largely, but not ballooning. Ballooning is fun. It always has been, and it always will be.
The Abruzzo Balloon Museum is really one of the iconic buildings in our community. You can see from the architecture how significant it is for ballooning, but you can also see by the people that are in the museum how significant it is for both locals and for people that visit our city to understand ballooning better. I mean, this museum is rich with the history of ballooning and all over the world, not just in the city of Albuquerque. Of course, during the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, the museum becomes a place for visitors from all over the world to come in and see more about ballooning, more about the city of Albuquerque, and more about our rich history, and about the families that made ballooning an iconic sport in the city of Albuquerque and around the world.
The Balloon Museum is part of the legacy of two adventuring businessmen from Albuquerque, Maxie Anderson and Ben Abruzzo. They were two of the crew members of the first successful crossing of the Atlantic Ocean in 1978. Both Anderson and Abruzzo were killed in aviation accidents, and their respective families joined together to commemorate them through a museum dedicated to ballooning.
Although it's here for tourism and to anchor down the Balloon Fiesta, it also recognizes the enthusiasts, of which my father and his flying partner Max Anderson are a big part of. Recognizes their achievements and the risks they took to accomplish those flights.
There is no place in the United States in which you can find such a collection of exhibits depicting the history, art, culture, science, and sport of ballooning than the Balloon Museum.
One of the unique documents that we have on display here at the museum is a letter that was written in 1783 by someone who was at the first test launch of a balloon near Paris. The balloon carried 3 animals in the basket: a sheep, a duck, and a rooster. The reason that they sent up animals before humans was we weren't really sure whether humans could live at altitude. It was a 40,000 cubic foot balloon full of hot air. Only 2 months after this balloon went up, there was a manned balloon flight, the very first time that men took to the air.
The Balloon Museum hosts dozens of educational and other special programs annually for children and adults, and it is open year-round.
During the year, we have fabulous tours for the general public, docent-led, and you really get a great sense of the great exhibitions that we have here. Hands-on, right here in our balloon school, where you can learn various aspects of the strength of balloons, how the physics work. We have a great program for early childhood education called Stories in the Sky, where we invite families weekly, year-long, and that's very popular. We also have field trips for school-age children all year long, and we really enjoy highlighting Albuquerque's contribution to lighter-than-air flight.
The Anderson-Abruzzo Albuquerque International Balloon Museum is a repository of information on epic flights, scientific discovery, and remarkable artifacts related to lighter-than-air flight. Its mission is to share that information and its collections with its visitors. To learn more about the Anderson-Abruzzo Albuquerque International Balloon Museum, call today or visit the website